Welcome back to my channel. I'm Brian Kafke, and this is the series Master Dimensional Modeling Step by Step. We're going to Lesson 4, Declare the Grain. Now I'm working this video series off of the book, The Data Warehouse Toolkit, and one of the things it talks about at the very beginning is the 4-step dimensional modeling process, which is really a small part of the overall book, but it's kind of the introduction, so I'm starting there too. And the first step is called selecting the business process. It's like, what are you actually trying to store data about? So it could be sales, it could be issuing policies if you're an insurance company, it could be booking hotel rooms, but it's some sort of business process. And the second thing is declare the grain. The grain is the level of detail you intend to store about the event. And we'll take a closer look at that as we dive in. We will not be getting into choosing the dimensions, that's why it's grayed out, or identifying the facts. We're going to do that in a later video. So again, select the business process and declare the grain. Now at this point we can start getting into a sort of real-life example using the AdventureWorks dataset. Why do I want to use AdventureWorks, you ask? The nice thing about AdventureWorks, which is a dataset created by Microsoft years ago to provide a complete and realistic test database that doesn't have any sort of risk of exposing data because it's all fictitious. There are actually two different forms of the database provided by Microsoft. One is an OLTP, or Online Transactional Processing Database, and the other is a dimensionally modeled data warehouse. Since our goal is to create a data warehouse using dimensional modeling, we're not going to use that database. We're going to use the Online Transactional Processing Database, OLTP. This is where the data actually originates. It's the application database where the data originally is stored. So again, we're going to ignore the data warehouse created by Microsoft. We're going to create our own. And just to give you a little background, if you haven't used AdventureWorks, AdventureWorks is a fictional sporting goods vendor. They primarily sell bikes and related equipment. So on this slide, I just want to tell you where you can get your copy of AdventureWorks. You can see on this slide where the red arrow is. That's the data set you want to download. And below this white area, you can see the link to get the data set. I'll put that link in the description of the video so you can just click on that and go and get your copy of the data set. Now this is specific to SQL Server. These BAK extension files are backup files taken from SQL Server, so you will need to use SQL Server to be able to use this database. Now the good news is you can get a full enterprise level SQL Server installation for free. It's called the Developer Edition, and the only rule is you cannot use this for production work, but it does have all the features, which is a really nice thing. And this shows you the link here is where you can get that. Again, I'll put that in the description. The other thing I'll put in the description is how to get SQL Server Management Studio. So if you want to follow through this example with me and do it yourself, you're going to have to follow the directions in the blog and the link in the description to get the dataset. You'll need to install SQL Server Developer Edition and SQL Server Management Studio. SQL Server Management Studio is the place where you can query and do all kinds of stuff with SQL databases. Now, if you don't want to use SQL Server, that's okay, but I'm not going to be able to handhold you on that one. So you may be able to find CSV text files, have all the tables extracted. I did see some online. I believe Microsoft provides one, but mileage may vary. So I didn't want to go down that road at this point. Although you could get and install the Developer Standard Edition, I would recommend the Developer Enterprise Edition because it's free and it has all the features of SQL Server. Now you don't want to be using the Trial Edition. Microsoft puts links up. They want to get you into trying to do a trial so they can rope you into buying the production product, but we're not looking to go there. So if it's asking for a credit card or you see a link and you click on trial, it's going to limit you to 14 days and you don't have ownership of using that product except to try it out. So this is an email we got. Imagine, we're using our imagination here, an email we got from the Vice President of Marketing, Claire Day, and we are a data architect at the company. So this is, imagine we got this is how the project gets initiated. Per our meeting yesterday, please create a sales data mart that will support creating reports and dashboards with reports like, now YOY means year over year sales, YTD, year to date sales, sales projections for future 4 quarters. Now we must be able to summarize sales by salesperson, product details, sales location, order date, and customer demographics. For now, we only need sales from our physical stores, but we would like to add internet-based sales down the road. Thanks, Claire. You are a data architect at AdventureWorks, a sporting goods company. You received a request from the VP of Marketing to create a data mart to support sales reporting and analytics. Step 1 is resolved, right? That was getting what business process? It's sales. So yay, we got one thing done. It is unlikely that you as a technical person like a data architect would ever just choose whatever you want as a process. You need to have the business do that. And fully defining all the requirements of building a data mart is something that is very iterative, and you need to talk a lot to the business. But we're going to just get to the core things in this video, which is getting to the grain. And I will point out that right off the bat, this vice president sent you an email with some good information. For instance, what are the dimensions that you'll see? And we can see that we have sales, product details, salesperson. These are the dimensions she's going to want to see. And she's also saying you don't need to include internet-based sales at this point. I'm going to take a slight tangent to talk about something covered in the Warehouse Toolkit book, which is conform dimensions. When you take data to build a mart and it comes from a single database, which is, say, a single application, it's pretty straightforward. You build your dimensions, you're good to go. Like, what are the states? What are the customers? What are the customer codes? What types of payments are allowed? And you get all these codes. Those dimensions, it's fine. But what happens if you have other sources that also need to come into the same data mart? Maybe you have 3 different sales systems, and maybe the products are a little different in your company, but you want to report on them all together. Well, that's where you get into a problem, because the dimensions, for instance, even state codes in one application might be 3 characters and 2 in another. You might have payment types, which is maybe CC for credit card in one data source, but CRD in another. Could be whatever different values. And this happens all the time. When you have a situation where you're going to be getting data from different sources and the dimension values can be different, that's when you need to look at what they call conform dimension. What does conform mean? It means make them conform to some standard. And this happens, a really common example of where you'll see this is if you happen to be a company that houses data from many different businesses and then provides a service where they can query and look at their data themselves. You see this in healthcare quite a bit, where they'll house reporting information or information to be used by different customers, and they need to bring it together, and they need to provide a consistent and standard way to provide reporting. And that's difficult when the data sources have all different kinds of different values. So I'm just touching on that for now. Not going to actually get into that yet, but later on down the road, we will. So if you haven't dealt much with sales before, I just want to kind of cover this. Typically, you have 2 parts of a sale. When you look at information, you have order header, which is like who is buying something, what date did they buy it on, when is it due, if in this case being shipped. You can see the address of the person who's buying it. And then you have maybe some subtotals at the bottom, which is a roll-up of the total amount. Now this is aggregated, right, because the order details below this, and this shows you like what did they actually buy, what's the quantity. They bought 1 mountain bike at a price of $3,399.99, and the total is the same price. They bought 2 Sport 100 helmets at a cost of $34.99, bringing the total cost of that line item to $69.98. So the line items is the detail. So really the question in this case for our sales we'll see is, do we want to roll these numbers up so that they're at the sort of header level? In other words, we just provide the total sales for this invoice for the customer. Or do we want to keep the lower level detail? And so what we're really saying is, what's the level of the grain? Do we want a detailed grain that includes the line items? And typically in sales, line items is the lowest level you're going to be able to get to. So a few things before we declare the grain. The fact represents an event, right? So we have a fact table, and each row in our fact table represents a sale. It could be a purchase, could be a request, could be any number of events, but it's an event. In this case, somebody bought something, a sale. The grain is the level of detail a row in the fact table represents, such as a single order line item versus an order summary. We could use either one, but the line item is going to give us a lot more flexibility, right? Because we can dig down into like what was purchased, what were the items. We could also, if you're thinking like an accounting, it could be like a general ledger journal entry versus having just like an account balance, which is really highly aggregated. When you get into something like clickstream, a single click in a web application, you can imagine you're going to get a lot of those, right? You're going to have billions and billions. Whereas you could aggregate those weblogs or whatever's tracking the clicks, and you could aggregate those into something that's more manageable. It all depends what you're trying to do. The key is you need to balance between the details and the flexibility and reporting that provides versus the performance and storage. In the case of clickstreams, you could have something like 10 trillion clicks, and each click is very, very specific. So if you're trying to query clickstream and you've got 10 trillion in a table, it's going to be very difficult to get meaningful results, and it's going to be very slow. Whereas if you aggregate them in some way, you may still be able to get the same functionality from reporting, but you'll be able to get better performance. So those are the typical balances you have to consider. So click level, clickstream, it may not be practical to get that lower level grain, but when it comes to orders, like we talked about earlier, invoices, if you only gave totals for the entire invoice, it wouldn't be very useful for reporting. You're going to want to get the line items. So the takeaway from this is favor more detail if possible. So I'm now in the AdventureWorks 2017 database. You can see it up here. I apologize, it's not very big. It's not easy to customize SQL Server Management Studio to give you a big font here, but you can see, you should be able to see it's AdventureWorks. And we're looking at the various tables. One thing you also notice is they use schemas. So schemas like this, human resources, for instance, .department. It's like a folder. It's like a way of grouping things that are related in some way. Human resources the human resources indicates a set of related tables for human resources. Person is tables related to people. And we're going to go down to sales. We can see we have sales order detail and sales order header. So not surprisingly, the sales order header is going to show us a higher level summary of what happened in each sale. You can see all these sales. Each one of these sales order IDs represents a complete sales with any number of line items. We can see we have information which would be dimensions, order date, due date, ship date. There's a lot of different information. We also can see we have like subtotals, tax amount, freight. So there are facts in here, but these are sort of rolled up for the most part. And then if we look at sales order detail, here we can see we have the sales order ID and the sales order detail. So this is really within this table. This is breaking out each line item, and this is the parent table, right? Sales order ID. So that's the sales order header that it's pointing to that we just saw. And that's why we can see this number 43659 is replicated all the way to here. So there's 12 line items in this particular order. You can see they're sequentially numbered. We have a lot of things. We have the quantity, so that's a fact, right? How many, how much, that's a fact. This is a product ID. What was purchased, so that's a dimension. Another dimension is special offer ID. Unit price is a fact, it's a quantity. Unit price discount is also another fact, and line item total or line total is also a fact. And the rest of the values here, as we pointed out, are dimension values. So we've got, I think, our grain figured out. Just wanted to kind of look at this. I think it's very helpful to play around and look at the data whenever you're getting any kind of new project started. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to want to get this line item detail. And we're going to have to figure out later how to bring in what we need from the sales order header as well. So wrapping up, we selected the business process and we identified the test data set that you can get at AdventureWorks. We are using a use case in which we are a seller of sporting products. And we selected the business process, which came to us from the business saying, we want you to build a sales-oriented data mart. We figured out how to declare the grain. Typically, the application is going to really scream what level of grain you need. But if it isn't, then you're going to have to do some analysis and figure it out. Case of sales, it's pretty clear. If you're doing something like an insurance, you're probably going to want something similar. If you're issuing policies, line item level detail on the policies, everything you bill separately for, which is a lot, you're going to want to include that at the grain level, so very detailed. We talked about things though where you have so many rows, right? In something like clickstream where every click has to be reported on, it may be impractical, and then you should probably find ways to aggregate. So we talked a little about that, declaring the grain. We did not get into yet choosing the dimensions or identifying the facts. That's yet to come. So again, select the process and declare the grain. That's all for this time, so please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, I'm Paul and Fire. We're all in this together. Thank you.